I used to think the scariest thing about mountains was the weather. One minute the sky is clear, the next minute the clouds roll in and the world becomes wet cotton. You lose the sun, you lose your sense of direction, and you realize how small you are compared to the rock under your feet. That was before I hiked Kurakami Ridge. Before that night, I had never thought about footsteps. My name is Yuta. When this happened, I was a first year at a university in Saitama and a new member of the hiking circle. We were the kind of club that posted pretty photos on Instagram but rarely trained enough to deserve them. Kurakami Ridge was supposed to be an easy autumn hike, wide trail, no climbing equipment needed, famous for red leaves. We took the last Friday of October, rode the bus to a sleepy mountain village, and started up with too much energy and too little water, like every other group of city kids with expensive backpacks. At the base of the trail stood a wooden signboard. Welcome to Kurakami Ridge. Trail closed beyond Kurakami Hut due to landslide. Do not proceed past the roped gate. Someone had stuck a cute warning sticker of a cartoon bear on the corner, which made the whole thing feel less serious. Our senpai, Kenta, clapped his hands once. Okay. We go up to the hut, take photos, eat, and come back down before dark. Everyone stay together, okay? Of course we didn't. The first half of the hike was exactly what you'd expect: fallen leaves, the smell of damp soil, the occasional old man in better shape than all of us combined moving past with very expensive trekking poles. Around noon we reached Kurakami Hut, a low, dark building sitting on a small flat section of ridge. A faded sign above the door read Kurakami Lodge in peeling English letters, like something from the Showa era. A coil of weathered rope blocked the trail behind the building. Beyond it, the path narrowed into scrub and disappeared around a sharp bend. Looks creepy, one of the girls said, taking a photo. Closed since the big typhoon 2 years ago, the hut master told us. He'd appeared from the dim doorway as we were unshouldering our packs. He was short and wiry, with a wrinkled face tan the color of old leather. His accent made his Japanese sound like stones bumping together. The ridge is unstable, he added. Rock falls. No one should go past the rope. The mountain keeps what it takes. He laughed, but his eyes didn't. We laughed too, because we were young and stupid and Tokyo had made us forget that land can move without human permission. Inside, the hut smelled of kerosene and damp wood. We bought canned coffee and instant curry, leaving our packs by the door. On one wall hung a faded photograph of hikers in old gear, short shorts, heavy boots, smiling under the same ridge. Someone had written the date in white pen, 1987. Next to the counter was a battered notebook for guests to sign. Write your names, the hut master said. It's good luck. Shows the mountain you came and left properly. I scribbled. October 27th, 2023. Saitama U Hiking Circle. Yuta/Kena/my/Rika/show. On the next page, the same date was already written in a tight, careful hand. October 27th, 2023. Solo. Just watching the weather this time. There was no name. I remember that now, but at the time I barely noticed. We ate, we took photos, we complained about the lack of phone signal. Clouds built up slowly around the higher peaks, but Kenta checked his watch and said we had plenty of time. Everybody ready to go down? He asked. Everyone nodded. Except me. Shit, I said, patting my pockets. My student ID isn't here. I had taken it out earlier to show a discount card to the bus driver. I remembered slipping it into the chest pocket of my jacket at some point. Now it was gone. It's probably in your pack, I said. We dug through my bag. Nothing. We checked the tables, the bench outside, the space around the signboard. No card. I felt my stomach sink. Student IDs are annoying to replace. You have to talk to the office staff, fill out forms, pay a fee you don't have. Maybe you dropped it on the trail, Kenta said. You were taking photos like crazy. The thought of my face lying somewhere on the path, laminated and helpless, made my skin crawl for reasons I couldn't explain. I'll just run back up the last section and check, I said. You guys can start down slowly. I'll catch up. That's a bad idea, the hut master said instantly. I hadn't realized he was still listening. The weather changes fast here, he said. You don't want to be alone on the ridge if the fog comes. It's just to the last viewpoint, I said. I won't go past that. He stared at me, then sighed like someone who has seen a lot of foolish hikers. At least take this, he muttered. He reached under the counter and placed a small brass bell on the wood. It was attached to a faded red cord, the kind old hikers hang from their packs to scare away bears. It's not really for bears, he added quietly. It's for footsteps. Something in his tone made the little hairs on my neck stand up. Kurakami has a habit, he continued. Sometimes at dusk, you hear someone walking behind you on the narrow parts of the trail. You don't see them, but you hear their steps. They always ask the same thing. He didn't smile now. His eyes were on mine, dark and very serious. They ask you to move aside so they can pass. Wind rattled the shutters outside. And if they ask? I said, trying to sound like I didn't care. You say no, he replied. You keep walking, keep your feet in the worn part of the path, and you don't make room. If you step aside, even a little, there's nothing under you to step onto. Only the drop. He tapped the bell. Keep this on you. If you hear extra footsteps and the bell doesn't ring, don't answer. They're not for you. He pushed the bell into my hand. Kenta snorted. You're scaring the kid, Aji-san. The hut master shrugged. Better scared than missing. I clipped the bell to my belt and jogged back up the trail. The others started down, laughing and talking about ramen and hot springs. Their voices faded quickly, swallowed by the trees and the soft susurration of wind in the branches. The higher I climbed, the quieter the world became. At first I looked carefully at the ground, scanning for the rectangle of my ID card among the leaves and dirt. After 5 minutes without success, I widened my search to the side of the path, imagining it caught in a bush or tucked under a rock. No card. I reached the last viewpoint before the closed section, a small, rocky outcrop with a rotting wooden post stuck into the ground. From here, you could see the next ridge folding into the distance, clouds snagging on the peaks like dirty cotton. There was no sign of my ID. I checked my watch. 15 minutes up. It would be getting dark by the time I returned to the hut, but not dangerously so. Still, the wind had a new edge to it, cooler and sharper. Okay, I get it, I muttered to whatever gods were listening. I'll pay for a new card. I turned to head back down. That was when the fog rolled in. It didn't creep the way I'd expected. 1 second the air was clear, the next, a white wall slid over the ridge and swallowed the world. The trees vanished. The horizon vanished. The trail at my feet seemed to lift and float in a blank, gray void. I could still see my boots, the ground, the worn strip of dirt where hundreds of feet had walked. But beyond 2 or 3 meters, there was nothing. The silence was immense. Okay, I whispered. Okay, this is fine. Just follow the path. I moved carefully, placing each step where the soil was compacted and slightly darker. The bell at my hip jingled softly with every motion. For a few minutes there was only the crunch of gravel, the faint jingle, and my breathing. Then, under those sounds, I heard something else. Another footstep. It was subtle at first, like an echo of my own steps. When I stopped, it stopped. When I went on, it resumed. You're just nervous, I told myself. The fog is playing with sound. I forced myself to count my steps in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crunch. 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 Another set of footfalls matched mine exactly, half a beat behind. The bell did not ring. The hairs on my arms stood up. Remember what the hut master said, I thought. If you hear extra footsteps and the bell doesn't ring, don't answer. I focused on the rhythm of my own movement, trying to pretend the other noise wasn't there. The trail narrowed, pressing between a steep, mossy slope on my left and a drop into mist on my right. I couldn't see how far down it went. The fog looked thick enough to walk on. Crunch. Crunch. Jingle. Crunch. I realized the other steps were slightly heavier than mine, as if the person behind me was larger or carrying more weight. Small pebbles rolled ahead of me sometimes, past my boots, as if kicked by someone I couldn't see. "Hey!" The voice came from directly behind my right ear. I nearly jumped off the mountain. It wasn't a growl or a whisper. It just sounded like a tired hiker, a man, maybe in his 30s, annoyed and out of breath. "Hey," he said again. "Mind if I pass?" Every nerve in my body screamed at once. "Don't step aside." My throat was dry. "The trail is narrow." "Sorry." Silence. The footsteps did not stop. They stayed half a beat behind, the invisible presence breathing steadily at my back. We walked like that for what felt like an hour but was probably only a minute. "Come on," the voice said, "closer now. Just for a second. Move to the side a little. I'm faster. I don't want to be stuck behind you." His tone was casual. He was right. I was slow. It would be polite, normal, to step a little to the left, to let him by. A cold memory slid across my thoughts, the hut master's words. "If you step aside, even a little, there's nothing under you to step onto." To my left, the slope rose sharply, slick with moss and dead leaves. To my right, the fog hung like thick smoke over the drop. There was nowhere safe to stand except the strip of packed earth under my boots. "I'm not comfortable," I managed. "Let's wait until the trail widens." The air behind me stiffened, there is no better word for it. It felt like someone had inhaled sharply and held that breath. The next time the voice spoke, it was right at my ear, the lips almost touching my skin. "You really don't remember, do you?" My heart almost stopped. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. "You promised last time," the voice said calmly. "You said, 'Next time, I'll make room. Next time, I won't let you fall alone.'" My mouth went numb. A memory flashed so quickly that I wasn't sure if it was real. A night bus 5 years earlier, heading toward a different mountain. A friend sitting next to me, swaying with sleep, talking about cliffs and mistakes and how easy it would be to just stop walking. "I don't know you," I croaked. A chuckle, flat and humorless. "You didn't know me then, either," he said. "But you heard me. I walked behind you on another trail, on another foggy evening, and I asked the same thing. 'Can I pass?' He paused. And you said no. You kept your feet exactly where they were, and you didn't move. You didn't even look back when you heard me slip." My stomach lurched. "You imagined it was a wild animal," the voice went on, matter of fact. "Or a rock fall. You told yourself you hadn't heard a human shout. You walked faster. You never turned around. You never checked." I couldn't breathe. I stammered. He laughed softly. "It's okay," he said. "The mountain kept what it took. But I kept one thing too." "What?" I whispered. "Your promise." The footsteps behind me stopped. The bell at my hip jingled once in the sudden quiet, an accidental note. "You said, in your head, if I ever hear someone behind me again, I'll make room. I'll help them pass." You said it as you went down the trail, trying not to look at the gap where another pair of footprints should have been. My vision blurred. "You can keep the rule you learned from the old man," the voice said. "Or you can keep the promise you made to yourself. One of them has to break." I realized my legs were shaking so badly that each step was a miracle. The fog around me pulsed, thinning and thickening with my breath. I could see more of the trail ahead now, a slight curve to the right, then what looked like a wider section. "If you keep walking," the voice said patiently, "you'll be fine. You'll reach the hut. You'll drink something hot. You'll go back to your friends and tell them the fog was scary but nothing happened." He paused. "But you'll always wonder what it would have felt like to be a better person. The words slid under my skin like needles. Or, he continued, you can keep your promise. You can step aside just a little. Just enough for me to pass. And if there's no ground there, well. His breath was almost warm on my neck. You'll finally understand what I felt when the trail wasn't under my foot anymore. A gust of wind tugged at my jacket, cold and sudden. The bell did not ring. I swallowed, hard. You're lying, I said, though I wasn't sure which part one meant. Maybe, he agreed. Maybe I'm just fog and echo. Maybe the old man's bell is ringing like crazy and you can't hear it. Maybe you never promised anything at all. He leaned closer. But if you're so sure, why are you shaking? I stared at my boots. The dirt under them looked solid. Real. 2 narrow strips of compacted earth where countless hikers had walked, all following the same invisible logic of safety. Just to my left, moss glistened on the slope, deceptively soft. One step there and I might only slip a little, catch myself, press my hand against damp rock. Just to my right, the fog showed nothing. I thought of another trail, another fog, a shape behind me that I'd refused to acknowledge. The memory was incomplete, like a dream half remembered after waking. But there was a weight to it, a guilt-shaped hollow inside my chest that I'd never been able to explain. I didn't know, I whispered. I know, the voice said. We stood there in the gray, 2 sets of footprints pressed side by side into the thin strip of safety. I realized something then. I couldn't feel his body heat behind me. The breath on my neck was the same temperature as the air. Why do you want to pass so badly? I asked, my voice small. He sighed, and for the first time there was something like weariness in it. Because I'm tired of walking behind, he said. Because there's only one way off this mountain for me now. I already fell. I just need you to step where I did. The honesty in his tone terrified me more than any threat. Please, he added softly. You don't have to look. You don't have to see me. Just move a little. Keep your promise. I'll do the rest. I closed my eyes. In the darkness behind my eyelids, I saw the shrine at the base of the mountain, the bus stop, my friends posting photos, the hut master writing names in his notebook. I saw a version of myself walking down the trail calm and unbothered, never turning around, never knowing how close he had come to the edge. Then I saw another version, 1 step to the side, 1 foot on moss, a brief moment of weightlessness. An empty, endless drop. If I die, I heard myself think wildly, everyone will say it was an accident. A careless step in the fog. Another stupid student. The mountain would keep what it took. No one would know I'd done it on purpose. Not really. Except the thing behind me. Except me. The bell at my hip jingled once more, louder this time, as if shaken by a sudden movement. I realized I had already started to lean. Yuta. Hearing my name in that voice broke something. I threw myself forward. Not to the side. Not away. Just straight ahead, along the strip of packed earth. My boots slipped a little, stones skittering underfoot, but I kept moving. I didn't care if I crawled, I just had to go forward. Yuta, the voice said again, sharper now. Wait. I didn't. The trail widened a few meters ahead where a fallen tree had forced a detour. I didn't see it, I felt it, the extra room around my feet, the sudden possibility of stepping wrong in a different direction. I slammed myself against the uphill side of the path, gripping a root with both hands, panting. For the first time since the fog rolled in, I turned around. There was no one on the trail behind me. Just my own tracks, a messy line of prints in the damp earth. And one more set. They were slightly larger than mine, a little deeper, as if the person had been carrying something heavy. They started a few meters back, at the narrowest part of the path, and stopped exactly where I was standing now, like someone had been about to step around me on the outside edge. The last footprint hung half over the drop, toes pressed into nothing. Looking at it made my stomach lurch. The fog there was thinner, as if some large body had just passed through it. The bell at my waist rang sharply, then fell silent. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, very faintly, from somewhere below and behind the wall of fog, I heard footsteps receding. Not climbing, not falling, just moving away, down a slope that wasn't there. They faded slowly, like the echo of a memory I had tried to suppress. The fog thinned. Trees emerged around me, black ribs pushing through gray flesh. The sky above was the color of a dirty bandage. I realized I was crying. By the time I stumbled back to Kurakami Hut, my legs felt like wood and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. The others were gone. Kenda had left a note, "Got the bus down, call when you get signal. Don't die LOL. The hut master looked up from his notebook as I came in. You took your time, he said. I dropped the bell on the counter. How did you know? I asked. He shrugged. I didn't. But mountains are lazy. They like to reuse the same stories. He studied my face. You didn't step aside. It wasn't a question. No, I whispered. Good, he said simply. He turned the notebook toward me. Write your name in again. For leaving. My hand shook as I took the pen. On the last page, above the fresh line I was about to write, I saw something that made my heart pound. October 27th, 2023. Solo. Just watching the weather this time. Thank you for not moving. The handwriting was the same as the earlier, nameless entry. A little tighter now. More controlled. I stared at the words. Who wrote this? I asked. The hut master followed my gaze. No one today, he said. That page was blank when you went up. He sounded tired, not surprised. I signed my name again anyway, beneath the strange message, pressing the pen so hard it nearly tore the paper. October 27th, 2023. Yuta, down safely. When I looked up, the old man was studying me with a kind of sad approval. Some debts you can't pay with money, he said. Sometimes all you can do is walk straight and keep your feet where they're meant to be. Outside, the fog was lifting from the ridge, peeling away in long, ghostly strips. I caught the last bus back to the city. It's been 3 years. I haven't gone back to Kurakami Ridge. I avoid night hikes now. I avoid narrow paths with drops on one side. I avoid walking close behind people and hate it when someone walks too close behind me. But sometimes, in crowded stations, when everyone is rushing and the train doors are closing and the platform is too small for all of us, I hear it. A footstep half a beat behind mine. A voice, tired but patient. Hey. Mind if I pass? When that happens, I keep my feet exactly where they are. I don't move aside. I don't turn around. I let the footsteps go wherever they're going. If you ever find yourself on a mountain trail and hear someone come up behind you just as the fog rolls in, if they ask you to move, to step aside just for a second, remember this story. Remember the bell that didn't ring. Remember the footprint that stopped at the edge. You don't have to be polite. You don't have to be a better person to a voice that doesn't breathe warm on your neck. Just keep walking. And if the trail feels suddenly narrow and the drop feels suddenly close, and the voice that calls your name sounds almost like your own, don't step aside. The mountain already has enough stories. It doesn't need yours yet.